From Washington, this is VOA News. Support from Afghanistan's president for an agreement that could see U.S. forces in Afghanistan through 2024 and perhaps longer. Talks aimed at finalizing an interim deal to curb Iran's nuclear program are termed very substantial. I'm Jim Stevenson reporting from Washington. The Afghanistan president says that he supports a bilateral security deal reached with the United States that could see U.S. forces in Afghanistan through 2024 and perhaps longer. But he added that the deal most likely will not be signed until Afghans choose a new president in April.
طرفدار پیمان هستیم ولی امریکا زندگی مردم ما را عزت کنه قانون ما را عزت کنه استقلال.
In an impassioned speech to 2,500 tribal community and elected leaders, Afghan President Hamid Karzai defended a bilateral security agreement reached with Washington, saying it would benefit Afghanistan in the long run. Saying he had the support of Afghanistan's major allies and neighbors except Iran, Mr. Karzai encouraged the assembly known as the Loya Jirga to vote for the security pact. But in what could be a potential sticking point with the United States, Mr. Karzai said if the Jirga approves the document and the Afghan parliament then votes in favor of the deal, the agreement might be signed after the 2014 presidential elections. The deal is to take effect January 1, 2015, and will keep American troops and civilian personnel in Afghanistan for at least another decade, possibly even longer. A suspected U.S. drone has carried out a rare missile strike outside of Pakistan's northwestern militant-dominated region, killing, among others, a senior fugitive commander in the Afghan insurgency. Local officials have confirmed at least 6 deaths in the attack, and there are children among the wounded. The head of the regional ruling party has vowed that his supporters will block NATO supplies Saturday to protest U.S. drones. Ayaz Gul reports for VOA from Islamabad.
The pre-dawn drone attack in the district of Hangu targeted an Islamic seminary where some members of the Haqqani network of Afghan insurgents were said to be present. The strike destroyed the facility, called a madrasa in local language, and the video footage on Pakistani TV stations showed the place was littered with shoes and pools of blood. One of the men killed is identified as Maulvi Ahmad Jan, believed to be a senior advisor to Sirajuddin Haqqani, the chief of what U.S. officials describe as the most feared Afghan group battling foreign troops in Afghanistan alongside the Taliban. The latest strike has outraged federal and provincial authorities. Ayaz Gul for VOA News, Islamabad.
International negotiators are representing Iran and world powers and continuing efforts to finalize an interim deal to curb Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. A spokesman for the European Union's chief diplomat said Thursday's first round of talks with Iran's foreign minister were very substantial. The remarks came as the negotiators met for a second day in Geneva. Catherine Ashton's spokesman said she and Javad Zarif were getting down to detailed work in the morning session and were to meet again later. Ashton is representing a group of 6 world powers that includes the United States, Britain, China, France, Russia, and Germany. They want an interim deal that calls for Iran to stop some of its enrichment activity and accept more inspections in return for limited sanctions relief. The president of the Central African Republic says he is in contact with fugitive rebel leader Joseph Kony and that Kony wants to surrender. A spokesman for President Michel Djotoja tells VOA that Mr. Djotoja held a phone conversation with Kony and that Kony said he's ready to put down his arms and come in from the bush. The spokesman said Mr. Djotoja told political leaders about this development during a meeting Thursday in the capital, Bangui. With emergency aid now flowing to most of the worst-hit areas of the central Philippines, relief groups say the biggest challenge will be to provide longer-term help to the millions affected by Typhoon Haiyan. It has now been nearly 2 weeks since one of the strongest storms ever to hit land wiped out entire villages with its powerful winds and tsunami-like storm surge. Although initial aid flow was slow, basic supplies are now able, for the most part, to get to those who need them. But groups such as Catholic Relief Services, as well as the United Nations, are warning the crisis is not over. They say there will be a need for continued generosity in the days and weeks to come. This is VOA News.